Okay, we also have options to access and create terrains. So you notice we have a triangle, we click and hold it, and right here we have our standard or high field terrain, we have a procedural fractal terrain, and we can preload it already created. So mostly have two different type of terrain. All of this going in depth, we will go look in our terrain editor section of tutorials. Right now, let's very fast overview what do we have it and what's different. So the standard terrain we can create right here. Okay, let's place it on the side, and let's go create procedures or fractal terrain. Okay, we're also going inside view, and you can notice right here we have our two terrains. Okay, if we take our camera and come closer to the standard terrain, what's happening, you can notice the resolution stays same. The reason is why that terrain was generated or created by fractal in a time when we click and says create standard terrain. It is look on the properties, what we specify for the terrain, and we'll look in a second how we can access those properties, and it's allowed us to create the terrain of these settings. But the problem with this, it is resolution already kind of hard-coded. So if we're going very close, you can see we have not very high details. However, procedure terrain is a little bit different. It is creating and calculating each time when camera position is changed. So for example, you can see already we have higher details. And if we're going very even close to the camera, it will even generate more details. So in some cases right here we select this terrain, it's kind of showing you a little bit of resolution. So notice right here polygons kind of display as low resolution, and as get we closer and closer to camera, the resolution of those polygons is increasing. So it will render. Here's a plus of and minus of both. So the standard terrain, it will take sometimes a little bit more resource initially, but it will be faster, a little bit faster on the render, because it does not need to recalculate the shape and details, amount of details when you render. Procedure will give you a little bit more on the details, so you have better shapes, more natural look, but it is re-render every time when you adjust your camera or bring, so its details take a little bit longer to render. Also, over standard terrain, you have a little bit more control how you're sculpting, and the procedurals, you do this through the functions. So it's two different kind of animals. So let's look a little bit closer on terrain, and we'll just double time click to open terrain editor. And like I said, we'll look on this closer in our terrain editor section. But overall, you'll notice right here we have options that is similar on the standard terrain versus procedural, but mostly you'll notice right here we have the option to load pictures or shapes or DM maps inside the standard terrain. If we look on our procedure terrain, you'll notice these options is gray out, so we cannot preload it. We could use it DM map or image as we're going inside procedurals and using as mapped image inside here, but it will be take a little bit more advanced way to going. But you notice also I said this is using fractal, it's using the function editor and procedure right here, so we can actually going to edit, and you can see right here we're using the simple fractal for this. Okay, right here to generate shape of terrain. In other ways, it was generated and saved. So we still have some of the few options we can apply filters to this, but it's a little bit limited. However, with the terrain with procedures, we have also options to just take few zones, working and sculpt on the zones, or apply effect. Both of the terrains allowed us to use it 3D sculpting tools or any other brush tools on both of them. Okay, so we look on this a little bit more in next. Just overall, this is two different. And in many times when I know I created far away mountain and I don't need it close up and just to fill up, I just create standard terrain shape and leave it, because I know it will be very light on resources and I don't need this close-up details as a procedure terrain. And many times you will kind of probably mix them together and see which one will work a little bit better. Also, when you creating, at least when I create my views, many times I create a multiple different terrains, and it's not just a one large infinity terrain with shapes. I create multiple different terrains like this, and just positioning and placing them differently so I can create my scenery from all these different type of pieces of terrains or mountains to create there. So again, we'll look on this, but overall here's an overview, and when we start creating our first scenery, this should be more than enough for us to just create a very simple view.